This is our 20-acre homestead, and in today's video I'm going to tell you how you can purchase your homestead for cash like we did. 6 years ago, Jen and I paid cash for this very homestead. In today's video, we're going to give you some ideas for how you can purchase a homestead for cash. And be sure to watch till the very end of the video. I've got some really good tips for you. I was a real estate agent for 6 years back in the day, and I've got some tips on how you can find land or a property to purchase. And as we do in every episode of Homestead How, we're going to show you some of our favorite photographs we took this week on and about our homestead. 6 years ago, Jen and I purchased our 20-acre homestead for cash. We weren't rich, we didn't inherit any money, we just saved up our money over the years. We were extremely frugal, and Jen and I were asking ourselves, could we do this again right now if we had to purchase a new homestead for cash? And we think we can, and here's our plan we're going to share with you. But before we talk about that plan, we wanted to talk about a couple of the benefits of having a paid off mortgage. It's been amazing for us these last 6 years not having that mortgage hang over our heads. We've been able to take all of the money that we would have paid for that mortgage and invest it. One thing we would do if we started over again, you can do it or you don't have to do it, is we invest in ourselves. Instead of putting all of our money into the stock market, we think about how can we take that money and reinvest it into our property. So we've built up our Airbnb rental and we're making about $20,000 a year off of that. We built a dog kennel.
Yeah, we had 4 dogs in here yesterday. 2 of them left yesterday. So we had all 4 kennels full. We actually had a repeat dog again for I think it was 9 days, which was so cool getting repeat.
We've also built 2 tiny houses on our property and we've sold those for a profit. So we invest in ourselves and let our money grow by investing in ourselves or in our property in our homestead. We haven't had to take on like a job that we hated just because we know we have a mortgage over our head, and we've had a ton more freedom these last 6 years by having a paid off mortgage. I'd highly recommend it. It's not easy to do, but we think we could do it again, and here's the plan that we would take. So the very first thing we would do from day one, if we were starting over right now, we want to pay for homestead cash, we would be extremely frugal. And I know you're probably just saying, oh yeah, we have to be cheap. I mean extremely frugal. You get rid of the smartphones, you don't need it. You get rid of going out to eat every single day. You skip the Starbucks. And the number one thing we've done that allowed us to save up a bunch of money is we've never purchased a car new. All of the cars we purchased have been under $1,400 and we pay cash for them, and we've had them for years and years. My last minivan I purchased, I paid $1,350 for it. That was 2 years ago, and I've put thousands and thousands of miles on that car. The air conditioning works great, it still runs great, and every month I'm using it, I'm able to save money. We've saved over $70,000 over the 10 years leading up to the purchase of this very homestead by only purchasing used cars. I've run the numbers, we did a whole video on this, I'll leave a link in the description below. For the cost of that one new car, you could have all of these cars. Plus this car, and this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. 11 cars for the cost of one new car. That's not a joke or an exaggeration. We've literally saved $70,000 by purchasing used vehicles over the last 10 years. That's $70,000 we had to put towards this very homestead. You have to be very frugal, very cheap. There's lots of videos out there on that. I'll leave a link in the description below to ours that we did about purchasing used vehicles on our homestead. The number 2 thing I would think about is being extremely patient. As soon as someone wants to buy a house, they immediately jump out, they look at a couple houses, they want to go, go, go so quick. I know this for a fact because I used to be a real estate agent. Be patient, especially right now. If Jen and I were starting over today, I would not go out and purchase a property right now. The real estate prices are too expensive. Real estate is a great investment, and over the years, it's just going to continue to go up, 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 up. But during this upward trend, there's peaks and there's valleys. And right now, the market is crazy, and I believe that bubble is going to burst, and those real estate prices are going to come down. I would be saving my money, being frugal, and I'd be looking for homes, properties, land right now, but I wouldn't be purchasing. I would wait for the market to drop. Once Jen and I had money saved up and we were ready to purchase a property and the real estate prices came down, there's a couple of different options, and it really depends on the situation and the timing. one of the things we would look to do is buy land without anything built on it already. And then on that land, Jen and I would set up our wall tent. We would dig a well by hand. We would dig an outhouse and we would live in that wall tent. There's a great YouTube channel out there called Bush Radical, and the guy's name is Dave Whipple. He was actually on the TV show Alone. Him and his wife have built up several properties doing just that all over Alaska. Over the last several decades, they bought land, put up their wall tent, built a log cabin, built up the land, sold it, made a bunch of money, went on to the next property, onto the next property. That's something I definitely do. Jen and I own a wall tent. It's got a wood stove in it. You can put a bed in it, a table. It's really comfortable, and you can live in it year round while you build your property up. So that's one thing we would do, is we would look for land. And on that point, I'm going to talk about this a little bit later, but I got an excellent tip for finding land for you that you may not have heard before. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. The other thing we'd consider doing is, on that land, okay, what are we going to build? We would probably build a tiny house, and then we would live in that tiny house while we continue to save up money, because it could take many years to build our permanent residence. So we would live in that tiny house, build up our property, and then once our property's built up, sell that tiny house, they roll it off and take it away, and you got a bunch of money in your pocket that you can put into your property. Jen and I have done this twice already. On this very homestead over the last 6 years, we built 2 tiny houses. We rented one out on Airbnb, we later sold it for cash, and then we built another one for a person, and we sold that to her for cash. Another thing I'd consider when looking for land is either to put up a metal building or find some property that has a building on it already. I know that's not really common, but it is out there. In fact, just 3 miles down the road, Jen and I drive past it every day. There's a 20-acre parcel, there's a metal building, and they have a camper. They've been there for like 2 years. They live in the camper, and then they have the metal building. And then inside that building, we'd build an insulated apartment, and we'd live in that apartment. It wouldn't cost too much to do that within that existing structure. And then while we're there, we save up all of our money, build our permanent structure next to the metal building, move out of the metal building, and then we could rent that apartment out on Airbnb or just traditionally per month. We know a lot about that because we rent out half of our homestead on Airbnb. It makes us about $20,000 per year. So we would look for land, either put a tiny house on it or a metal building, or the third option would be to live in a wall tent and build a log cabin on it. And that may be something Jen and I do when we retire someday. When you're looking for your property, think about this very carefully. Don't just look for a property where you think, oh, I could live a nice happy life here and have a homestead. Think about how can you make money on that property long term. For example, our homestead that we purchased is a 2-family. So we were thinking we could rent half of that out, and that would save us a lot of money each month. We could put that money towards our utilities and any remaining bills we have because we don't have a mortgage. Other things to think about. Are you on a busy road? Maybe you could sell produce or firewood on the road. We looked at this area because we had room for an orchard, so we could plant trees and then sell the produce from the trees. We also have 20 acres here, and most of it is wooded. So we could cut down the wood, make firewood, sell it, and then have a sustainable firewood business. So there's like 5 options we have for our homestead. That's something you really want to think about. You don't want to just buy a property because it looks like it's going to be a cute homestead, but how can you make money from it in the future? So I talked about purchasing land. Another thing I would look for is a distressed home or a foreclosure. That was the case for our homestead. This place was on the market for 2 years. Hundreds of people looked at it. It was trash and it needed a ton of work. We were willing to put in the elbow grease and the work to make it livable. We had to live in the apartment, which was also in shambles, while we built up the bottom part of the property. It took us almost a year to make it livable. We had to rip out all the carpet, rip out all the floorings, we had to put a new roof on, we had to do paint, all of that stuff. It was a lot of work for a year, but basically we're getting paid to do that work because we did it all of ourselves. And in this day and age, anybody can do that. Everything that you want to learn is on YouTube. You want to know how to put a new roof on, you want to get solar panels, it's all on YouTube. There's no excuse. When searching for property, if it's a foreclosure or whatever, the other thing I would do is I wouldn't use a real estate agent. Again, I used to be a real estate agent. I did it for 6 years. Nothing against real estate agents. They're great. But if you're going to purchase a house that's on the market from a realtor, there's automatically 6 to 9% commission that's added onto that price. Plus the real estate agents know what the properties are going to go for. So there's a very small chance you're going to get a deal if you buy a property from a real estate agent. There's houses that are for sale by owner that you could purchase where you could get a lot lower price. So that's something to look into, or the foreclosure like we did with our homestead. Another thing to consider is if you want to purchase a property for cash, You may not be able to do it for your very first property. Jen and I bought a few properties before we built up to this one. The first house we purchased, we were 20 years old, and because we're first-time home buyers in Wisconsin and many other states, they have a thing where you can put 3% down. We bought a house for $90,000. It was a junker. It was a small, tiny house. Nobody wanted it. We put 3% down. That was $2,700. We were able to save up that $2,700. Then we fixed that property up. We lived there for about 5 years. We sold it for $130,000. We made 40 grand on that house. We put that into our next house. We rolled it over. The next house we bought, another junker, needed a whole bunch of work. We fixed that property up. I don't think we made quite as much on that one, but we also made a profit on that, and we took all of that money, pooled it together, and put it towards this new house. That with all of the money we saved by being frugal. I've got a really good tip for you if you're looking for land. So there's websites out there like Zillow and Realtor.com where you can look for property. Another thing you can do is look up tax parcel maps. There's one in Wisconsin. I'll show you a quick screenshot of this. You can just put in an address and you can see this whole area around us. You can see all of the parcels. These are all 20-acre lots. And our house is right here. Over there, it's just hunting land, hunting land, hunting land, hunting land, hunting land. 20-acre parcels all the way down. There's no other houses in any direction. This is all hunting land. And what you could do, and what I would do is if I was looking for vacant land, is I would start searching in the area that I want, and I would look at all of those parcels. And you can see where the mailing address differs from the parcel address. And in those cases, the people obviously don't live there. It could be hunting land, it could be land they inherited from their parents, and it's just sitting there. You write up a letter, you print out a bunch of copies of it, and you send it to those people, and you see, are you interested in selling? Maybe they're interested in selling, or maybe they're interested in subdividing. If they have a 40-acre parcel, maybe you can subdivide it into two 20-acre parcels. They get some money, but they still have some hunting land that they're probably not using anymore anyhow. It's a kind of an out-of-the-box way of doing it, but if you want to save a bunch of money, that could be a good way to do it, as opposed to competing on the real estate market where there's property on there and 100 people are already looking at it because it's on Zillow and Realtor.com. You're going out there, you're being more proactive, and you're finding a way to do it yourself. Bonus item, did you know there's places out there that are willing to pay you to come live in their area? There's actually a website. I'll leave a link in the description below. I just came across this the other day. It was amazing. A woman was paid $20,000 to relocate from California, I think it was to Wyoming. They're trying to get good people in that area, and they put together this incentive program and website for you to move there. That's another tip that I would suggest, is check out a website like that. I don't know how plausible that is, but moving further away is one of the things Jen and I would do if we were purchasing a homestead now. If you try to get something right by the city or a major metropolitan area, you're going to pay a premium for that. The further away you get, the lower the prices are going to be. If you want to be a homesteader, you want to be self-sufficient, you want to grow your own food, you should be able to manage out in the middle of nowhere, kind of like we are right here. It's a pain sometimes. We got to drive really far if we want to get to the hardware store, but for the most part, we like being secluded, and you're going to pay a lot lower price if you're away from the cities. So if you want to purchase your homestead for cash, it can be done. Jen and I did it. We're not very smart people. Neither of us went to college. We both were working minimum wage jobs for years out of high school. We inherited $0. We used all of our own money for this that we saved up and that we were frugal and that we rolled over from our other properties. You can do it. Jen and I have been looking closely at the real estate market right now, and we know that if we had to start over from scratch right now, working in a warehouse or working a minimum wage job, we could purchase a homestead for cash. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a lot of hard work. You have to set yourself a goal. You have to make a plan. You have to be extremely frugal, and you have to work towards that plan every single day.